I heard it before I saw it. A clicking sound. Rhythmic, hollow, like someone knocking wooden blocks together in a steady pattern. Gachi, gachi, gachi. Gachi, gachi. It echoed off the mountains surrounding the school, growing louder with each repetition. I was standing in the faculty room on the second floor, one hand on the light switch, my lesson plans for the next day spread across the desk behind me. The clock on the wall read 1:53 a.m. The clicking stopped. I held my breath. The building was silent. No wind, no insects, nothing. Just the hum of the vending machine down the hall and the fluorescent light above my head. Then I heard footsteps. Not regular footsteps. These were massive, each one hitting the ground with enough force that I felt the vibration through the floor. Boom, 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 slow, deliberate, moving up the hill toward the school. I walked to the window and looked out. The thing was 50 feet tall. Maybe more. Its bones were yellowed and ancient, lashed together with something dark that might have been sinew or shadow. The skull was enormous, jaw hanging open, empty eye sockets, pointed directly at the school building. At me. It took another step. The ground shook. Trees bent away from it as it passed. I ran.
6 months earlier, I'd landed at Narita with 2 suitcases and a teaching contract that would keep me in Japan for at least 2 years. The JET program had placed me in Kagawa Prefecture, in a town so small it didn't appear on most maps. Yamanouchi, population 847. I'd applied to JET 3 weeks after Jennifer left. We'd been together for 5 years, engaged for 1, and she'd ended it over breakfast on a Tuesday morning with the kind of calm clarity that made it impossible to argue. She'd already moved her things out of our apartment. She'd already told her parents. It was finished before I'd even known it was ending. I needed to be somewhere else. Anywhere else? When the acceptance letter came, I didn't hesitate. The town coordinator met me at Takamatsu Station. His name was Tanaka-san, and his English consisted of approximately 15 words, most of which were okay and yes. He drove me up into the mountains for an hour, the roads getting narrower and the trees getting thicker, until we finally pulled into Yamanouchi. The town was a single main street with a post office, a convenience store, a shrine, and a small elementary junior high school that served the entire valley. My apartment was on the second floor of a building next to the school. 1 room, a bathroom, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. Tanaka-san handed me the keys, showed me how to use the air conditioning unit, and left. I sat on the floor of the empty apartment and wondered what the hell I'd done. The school had 63 students, grades 1 through 9. I was their first native English teacher. Ever? The principal, Nakamura-sensei, was a small man in his 60s who spoke careful, textbook English that he'd clearly learned decades ago and rarely used. He gave me a tour of the school on my first day, showing me the faculty room, the English classroom, the gym, the staff bathroom. "You teach English conversation," he said. "Make lessons fun. Students need practice speaking. I'll do my best. You stay late sometimes." "Probably. I want to prepare good lessons," he frowned. "Not too late. Better go home by 8 o'clock. 8. That's pretty early. Yes, 8 o'clock. Very important." He looked at me seriously. "You go home, not stay late." I nodded, not really understanding why he was so insistent, but figuring it was some cultural thing about work-life balance. The students were shy at first. They'd never had a foreign teacher, and most of them had never spoken to a native English speaker. But they warmed up quickly. The younger ones especially, they'd crowd around me during breaks, asking questions in broken English, giggling when I tried to respond in my terrible Japanese. One girl in the 5th grade, Akari, took it upon herself to be my unofficial language tutor. She'd correct my pronunciation, teach me new words, laugh when I got the pitch accent wrong. After my first week, she stayed after class while I was packing up my materials. "Ashcroft-sensei," she said. Her English was better than most of the other students. "You go home soon, in a bit. I need to finish some planning." She frowned. "No, stay late." "I'll be fine. I just need another hour or so." "No." She shook her head vigorously. "You go home before dark. Why?" She bit her lip, thinking. Then she said something in rapid Japanese that I couldn't follow. I caught maybe 2 words. Yoru, night, and abunai, dangerous. "I don't understand," I said slowly. She looked frustrated, tried again in English. "Nighttime. Bad. You go home." "Okay," I said, more to reassure her than because I actually understood. "I'll go home soon." She didn't look convinced, but she nodded and left. I stayed until 9 that night. The warnings continued. Different students, different teachers, all saying variations of the same thing. Go home. Early. Don't stay late. Night is dangerous.
but no one would explain why. I tried asking in English. I tried using Google Translate on my phone, showing the screen to teachers in the faculty room. They'd read it, nod seriously, and say, yes, dangerous, without elaborating. Tanaka-san drove me to the convenience store one evening, and I asked him directly, why is everyone telling me not to stay out late? Ah. He nodded. Yoru wa abunai desu. Yes, but why? He shook his head. Muzukashi. Difficult. He mimed something with his hands that I couldn't interpret then. Gave up. You go home early, okay? Okay. I didn't go home early. I was determined to be good at this job. The best English teacher these kids had ever had. I spent hours preparing lessons, making flashcards, planning games and activities. I wanted every class to be engaging, memorable, effective. That meant staying late. Most nights I'd work until 8 or 9, sometimes 10. The building would empty out around 6, students and teachers going home, the sun setting behind the mountains, and I'd be alone in the faculty room with my laptop and a pile of worksheets. Nothing ever happened. The building was quiet, safe. I'd walk home through the empty streets, let myself into my apartment and go to bed. The warnings seemed like superstition, old-fashioned rural thinking, until the foxfire. It was late October, about 7 weeks after I'd arrived. I'd stayed at school until 9:30, finishing a lesson plan for the next week. When I stepped outside, the street was dark except for a few scattered lights from houses up the hill. I started walking toward my apartment. Halfway there, I saw lights in the trees. Small orbs, blue-white, floating about 6 feet off the ground. There were maybe a dozen of them, bobbing slowly through the forest that bordered the school property. I stopped walking. The lights moved in patterns that seemed almost intentional, weaving between trees, circling back on themselves. One of them drifted closer. It hovered near the edge of the tree line, maybe 20 feet from where I stood. I could see it clearly now, a sphere of cold light, about the size of a baseball, with no visible source. I took a step toward it. It retreated. I took another step. It moved deeper into the trees. The other lights began moving too, all of them drifting away from the road, leading into the forest. I almost followed. I had my phone in my pocket. I could use the flashlight, see where they went. But something stopped me. Some instinct that said following strange lights into the forest at 9:30 at night was a bad idea. I turned around and walked quickly back to my apartment. When I glanced over my shoulder, the lights were gone. The next day, I asked Akari about them during lunch break. I saw blue lights in the forest last night, I said. What were they? Her eyes went wide. You saw? Yes, near the school. She said something to her friend next to her in rapid Japanese. The friend gasped and they both stared at me. What? I asked. What is it? Kitsune, Akari said quietly. I knew that word. Fox. Fox lights. She nodded. Kitsune by foxfire. Are they dangerous? She thought about it. Maybe. You follow? No, I didn't follow them. She looked relieved. Good, not follow. Kitsune trick people, make lost. Make people lost? Yes. Follow light, get lost in mountain, can't find way home. I filed that information away. Don't follow mysterious lights in the forest, seemed reasonable. 2 days later, I got turned around walking home. I'd taken the same route from school to my apartment every day for 7 weeks. Straight shot, 5-minute walk, impossible to mess up. But that night, after staying late again, I somehow ended up on a street I didn't recognize. The buildings were wrong, the slope of the hill was wrong. I pulled out my phone to check the map, but I had no signal, which was strange, because I usually had at least one bar in town. I turned around, retraced my steps, and found myself on another unfamiliar street. Nothing looked right. The shrine that should have been on my left was gone. The convenience store that should have been visible down. The hill had disappeared. I walked for 10 minutes, getting more lost until I finally found a landmark I recognized, the post office. From there, I managed to navigate back to my apartment. The next morning, I mentioned it to one of the other teachers, Yamada-sensei, who spoke decent English. I got lost last night, I said, walking home from school. Ended up on streets I'd never seen before. She nodded knowingly. Tanuki. Tanuki. The raccoon dog? Yes. Tanuki are, how do you say, trickster. They make people confused. See things that aren't real. You're saying a tanuki made me lost? Maybe. She didn't seem to think this was strange. Tanuki live in forest near school. Sometimes they play tricks. You should, she paused, thinking. You should carry fried tofu. They like it. If you give them tofu, they don't trick you. Fried tofu. Yes, a burrage. Buy at convenience store. I didn't buy fried tofu. I told myself it was just stress or exhaustion or the fact that all the streets in town looked similar in the dark. But I stopped staying quite as late, usually home by 8:30 now. 9 at the latest. Once a month, I had a video call with Elaine Mercer, another JET participant placed in Okayama City, about 2 hours away. She was from Manchester, 3 years older than me, and had been in Japan for 18 months already. She'd volunteered to be my support contact, someone I could ask questions, vent to, bounce ideas off of. Our November call happened on a Saturday afternoon. I sat in my tiny apartment with my laptop balanced on my knees, while Elaine's face pixelated in and out on the screen. "How's the Inaka life treating you?" she asked. "It's weird. Weird how? The people here keep warning me not to stay out late. They won't explain why, and I've been seeing strange things." "Like what?" "Lights in the forest. Getting lost on streets I walk every day. Students telling me about foxes and tanuki." Elaine laughed. "Oh, you're in one of those towns." "What do you mean?" "Rural Japan takes folklore seriously. Like, really seriously, especially in mountain towns. They probably believe all the old stories about yokai." "Yokai? Spirits, monsters, supernatural creatures. There's hundreds of them. Kitsune, tanuki, tengu, all that." She adjusted her glasses. "They're mostly harmless, just superstition. The kids seem genuinely worried. Because they grew up hearing these stories, doesn't mean they're real." She smiled. "Although it's pretty cool, culturally speaking. You should research it. Might help you understand your students better." "Maybe. Want me to check the library here? We've got a decent English section. I can see if there's anything about yokai folklore in your prefecture." "That'd be great, actually. I'll look this week and email you." After we hung up, I sat in the dim apartment and thought about foxfire and tanuki and children warning me in broken English to go home before dark. Superstition. Had to be, but I bought a package of fried tofu from the convenience store that night and kept it in my desk drawer at school. The email from Elaine arrived 3 days later. "Victor, found a book at the library about Shikoku folklore. Skimmed the chapter on Kagawa. Your area has a lot of kitsune and tanuki stories, which tracks with what you told me. Apparently there's a shrine near Yamanouchi that's dedicated to Inari, the fox deity. Locals used to make offerings to keep the kitsune happy. Also found something interesting. There's a legend about a noppera-bo in your region. It's a faceless ghost, supposed to appear on mountain roads at night and scare travelers. The book says if you see one, you should close your eyes and recite a specific phrase to make it go away. I'll attach a photo of the page so you have the Japanese. Honestly, it's probably all just stories to keep kids from wandering around at night, but might be fun to learn about for cultural context." I opened the attachment. The page was from an old book, text in English with Japanese annotations. The phrase, to ward off noppera-bo, was written in both scripts. Gomen kudasai. Watashi wa michi ni mayotte imasu. Excuse me, I am lost on the road. Apparently saying this while keeping your eyes closed would cause the faceless ghost to disappear. I copied the phrase into my phone's notes app, just in case. Winter came early to the mountains. By mid-December, the temperature was dropping below freezing at night, and I'd started wearing layers even inside the unheated school building. The students were preparing for their end-of-term exams. I was preparing review materials, which meant staying late again. I'd been good about leaving by 8 or 8:30 for the past month, but exam week was busy. I needed the extra time. On Thursday night, I worked until 10:15. When I finally packed up my things and turned off the lights in the faculty room, the building was completely dark except for the emergency exit signs. I walked down the stairs and out the side entrance. The street was empty, illuminated only by a few streetlights that turned the snow-dusted ground a pale orange. I started walking toward my apartment. Halfway there, I saw someone standing in the middle of the road, a figure in dark clothing, facing away from me. Average height, average build. They weren't moving, sumimasen, I called out. "Excuse me." The figure didn't respond. I walked closer. "Are you okay?" Still nothing. I was about 10 feet away when the figure turned around. It had no face. Smooth skin where the eyes, nose, and mouth should have been, like someone had taken a mannequin and forgotten to add features. I froze.
My heart hammered against my ribs. The figure took a step toward me. I remembered Elaine's email. Close your eyes. Say the phrase. I squeezed my eyes shut and forced the words out. Gomen kudasai. Watashi wa mihi ni mayota imasu. Silence. I waited, eyes still closed, barely breathing. When I opened them, the road was empty. No figure, no footprints in the snow, nothing. I ran the rest of the way to my apartment. I called Elaine the next day, even though it wasn't our scheduled time. I saw it, I said as soon as she picked up. Saw what? The noppera-bo, the faceless ghost. It was standing in the middle of the road last night. A pause. Are you serious? Yes. It turned around and it had no face. Just smooth skin. I said the phrase you sent me and it disappeared. Victor, she sounded concerned. Are you okay? Like mentally? I'm fine. I know what I saw. You've been working a lot. Not sleeping well. Maybe stress. It wasn't stress. It was real. Another pause. Okay, let's say it was real. What are you going to do? I don't know. Learn more, I guess. Can you find more information? About other yokai in this area? Victor, I really think. Please. She sighed. Fine, I'll go back to the library. But you need to talk to someone there. Your supervisor or another teacher. Someone who knows the area. They won't tell me anything. I've tried. Try harder. And maybe stay home at night for a while. Yeah, maybe. But I didn't stay home. I couldn't. The students' exams were coming up, and I had work to do. Elaine sent me another email a week later, right before winter break. Victor went back to the library. Found more info on your area. You were right to be concerned. There's a much more dangerous yokai associated with the mountains around Yamanouchi. It's called a gashadokuro, a giant skeleton that hunts at night. According to the legend, it's made from the bones of people who died of starvation. It wanders around between 2 and 3 a.m. looking for victims to grab and eat. The book says it makes a specific sound, a clicking or chattering noise, like teeth grinding together. If you hear that sound, you're supposed to stay absolutely silent and hide immediately. Movement and noise attract it. I'm sending this because the book specifically mentions sightings in the Yamanouchi area as recently as the 1960s. Obviously, I don't think a giant skeleton is actually roaming around your town, but the locals clearly take this seriously. That might explain why everyone keeps telling you to go home early. Please be careful. And seriously consider going to bed at a reasonable hour. I read the email twice. Then I looked up gashadokuro on my phone. The images that came up were terrifying. Massive skeletons, 15 to 20 meters tall, with enormous skulls and empty eye sockets. Woodblock prints showed them reaching down to grab fleeing humans, bones yellowed and ancient, the clicking sound. Gachi, gachi. Gachi, gachi. I sat in my apartment as the sun set behind the mountains and thought about all the warnings I'd ignored. Winter break started the next day. For 2 weeks, I had no reason to go to the school. I stayed in my apartment, caught up on sleep, video called my family back in England for Christmas. The warnings faded from my mind. The noppera-bo encounter started to feel like a dream, something my exhausted brain had conjured up. The gashadokuro was just folklore, old stories to scare children. When school started again in January, I felt more settled, more confident. I'd been here 4 months now. I knew the town, knew the students, knew the routines. I was a good teacher. The kids were improving. I just needed to keep doing what I was doing. Stay focused. Stay late when necessary. The first week back, I stayed until 9 every night, preparing for the new term. The second week, I stayed until 10. The third week, I fell asleep at my desk. I woke up to silence. Complete, total silence. No hum from the vending machine, no distant traffic, no wind. Just nothing. I lifted my head from my arms. My neck ached. My laptop screen had gone dark. I checked my phone, 1:47 a.m. I'd fallen asleep around 11. I'd been out for almost 3 hours. I stood up quickly, my heart already racing. I needed to leave, now. I grabbed my bag, shoved my laptop inside, and headed for the door. That's when I heard it. Gachi, 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 gachi. The clicking sound, distant, rhythmic, echoing off the mountains. I stopped moving.
My hand was on the doorknob of the faculty room, but I couldn't make myself turn it. The clicking continued. Steady, getting closer. Then the footsteps started. Massive impacts that shook the building. Boom, boom, boom. I crossed to the window and looked out. The gashadokuro was walking up the hill toward the school. It was impossibly tall, bones held together with something that looked like dried tendons or dark rope. The skull was the size of a car, jaw hanging open, empty sockets pointed straight ahead. It moved with deliberate slowness, each step covering 10 meters. I watched it for maybe 3 seconds. Then my brain caught up with what I was seeing, and I ran down the stairs, 3 at a time, my bag bouncing against my back. The clicking sound was louder now, closer. Gachi, 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 gachi. The footsteps shook dust from the ceiling. I hit the first floor and sprinted for the side entrance. Shoved the door open. Cold air hit my face. The thing was 50 meters away. Close enough that I could see the individual bones, the way they moved against each other with each step. Close enough that I could smell it. Old earth, decay, something ancient and wrong. I ran toward the town, away from the school, away from that thing, my boots slipping on the icy road. Behind me, another footstep, closer. The ground shook. I looked back. It was following me. The skull had turned. Those empty sockets were tracking my movement. The jaw opened wider and the clicking sound intensified. Faster now, excited. I cut left, off the main road, down a narrow alley between 2 houses, too narrow for something that size. It would have to go around. I ran through someone's yard, vaulted a low fence, came out on another street. My lungs burned. My legs felt like rubber. The clicking had stopped. I slowed down, gasping, trying to listen. Nothing. No footsteps, no sound at all. Then I heard it behind me. Close. Right behind me. I dove to the side, rolled, came up against a concrete wall. The gashadokuro's hand, massive skeletal fingers, slammed into the ground where I'd been standing a second earlier. The impact cratered the road. I scrambled backward. The thing loomed over me, blotting out the sky. The skull descended, jaw opening wider, and I could see down into the empty space inside its ribcage. Darkness, void. I pressed myself against the wall, absolutely silent, not breathing. The skull stopped inches from me. The clicking sound resonated in my chest. Gachi gachi, gachi gachi. It was listening, searching. I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. The skull tilted like a dog trying to locate a sound. The jaw closed slightly, then it pulled back, straightened. Took a step away. I stayed frozen against the wall. The gashadokuro stood in the middle of the street, bones creaking as it shifted weight. The skull turned slowly, scanning the area. After what felt like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds, it took another step, then another, moving away, back toward the mountain. I waited until the clicking sound faded completely, until the footsteps were gone, until the only sound was my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. Then I ran home and locked every door and window in my apartment. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my floor with my back against the wall and watched the window until sunrise. When morning came, I called Elaine. "It's real," I said as soon as she answered. "The gashadokuro. It's real, Victor. I saw it. It chased me. It almost killed me." I told her everything. The clicking sound, the skeleton, the way it had hunted me through the streets, how I'd survived by staying absolutely still and silent. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end. "Okay," Elaine said finally. "Okay, let's say it's real. What do you need?" "Information. Everything you can find about gashadokuro. How to avoid them. How to survive if you encounter one. Anything. I'll go to the library today. But Victor, you need to talk to someone there. Your supervisor, someone at the town office. They must know about this. My Japanese isn't good enough. Then find someone who can translate. This is serious. You need local knowledge." After we hung up, I sat in my apartment trying to figure out who I could talk to. Most teachers didn't speak enough English for a complex conversation. Tanaka-san could barely string together a sentence. Then I remembered Akari. Her English was the best in the school, and she'd been trying to warn me from the beginning. On Monday, I asked Akari to stay after class. "I need your help," I said. "I need you to translate something for me." She nodded, serious. "Okay. I saw something on Friday night, something big, made of bones. It chased me." Her eyes went wide. "Gashadokuro." "Yes. You know it. Everyone know. Very dangerous. Kill people. I need to know more. Can you help me talk to someone? A teacher? Your parents? She thought about it, then nodded. I ask my grandmother. She know many things. Old stories, thank you. That evening, Akari's grandmother came to my apartment. She was tiny, maybe 80 years old, dressed in traditional clothing. Akari translated as she spoke. Grandmother says gashadokuro come from old battlefield. Many people died hungry in mountains long time ago. Their bones walk at night, hungry forever. How do I avoid it? More rapid Japanese. Akari listened, then translated. Not go outside between 2 and 3 a.m. Never. If you hear clicking sound, hide immediately. Don't move. Don't make sound. Gashadokuro hear very good, but not see good. If you stay still, it maybe not find you. Is there a way to protect my apartment? The grandmother spoke again, pulling something from her bag. A small paper talisman with Japanese characters, written in black ink. This is Ofuda, protection charm. Put on your door. Gashadokuro cannot enter. She handed it to me. I took it carefully. Thank you. She said something else. Longer this time, Akari translated. Grandmother says you are lucky to survive. Many people die from gashadokuro. You must be very careful. Stay inside at night. Follow the rules. After they left, I put the Ofuda on my apartment door. I didn't know if it would actually work, but it made me feel slightly safer. Elaine sent me a long email the next day with everything she'd found at the library. The gashadokuro only appeared between 2 and 3 a.m. It hunted by sound, the clicking of its own bones serving as a kind of echolocation. If you heard it and stayed absolutely silent and motionless, it might pass by. If you made noise or ran, it would chase you until it caught you. There were also notes about the other yokai. Kitsune could be appeased by showing respect, bowing when you saw their fire, leaving offerings at inari shrines. Tanuki were mischievous but mostly harmless, carrying fried. Tofu would keep them from playing tricks on you. The noppera-bo was territorial but could be warded off with the phrase I'd already learned. I printed everything out and started making notes. If I was going to survive another year and a half in Yamanouchi, I needed to understand the rules. The rest of the school year passed carefully. I never stayed past 8 p.m. I kept fried tofu in my desk drawer and left small offerings at the Inari shrine on the edge of town. When I saw foxfire in the forest, I stopped and bowed respectfully before continuing home. I encountered the noppera-bo twice more. Both times I closed my eyes and recited the phrase, and both times it disappeared. The gashadokuro I heard 3 more times over the next year, distant clicking echoing through the valley late at night. Each time I was safely in my apartment with the door locked and the ofuda in place. The students stopped looking so worried when I stayed late. I think they realized I'd finally learned to listen. My Japanese improved. By my second year I could have actual conversations with the other teachers. They still wouldn't talk about the yokai directly, but they'd give me advice in careful, indirect ways. Make sure you're home by 8. Did you visit the shrine this month? Be respectful in the forest. I video called Elaine every month. She thought I'd gone a bit mad, but she kept researching for me, kept sending information. You're writing this all down, right? She asked during one call. For the next person, you think they'll place someone else here after I leave? Maybe, and if they do, they'll need to know. She was right. My contract ended in August of my 3rd year. I'd survived 3 years in Yamanouchi without getting killed by a gashadokuro or lost by tanuki or scared to death by a noppera-bo on my last day. Nakamura-sensei called me into his office. You did good job, he said. Students learn much English. Thank you. Next teacher come in September. American man. Young. First time in Japan. My stomach sank. Will someone explain things to him? About the dangers? Nakamura-sensei looked uncomfortable. Difficult to explain. Language problem. Cultural problem. He needs to know. If he doesn't know, he could die. You write something? For him? Maybe easier in English. Yes, I'll write something. That night, I sat in my apartment with my laptop and started writing. Guidelines for surviving Yamanouchi at night. For the attention of the incoming jet participant. I know this will sound insane. You'll probably think it's a joke or that the previous teacher was mentally unstable. I don't blame you. I thought the same thing when I arrived, but everything in this document is true. I've seen these things, I've survived them. If you follow these guidelines, you will too. General rules. 1. Never be outside between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. for any reason. Lock your doors. Stay silent. Wait for the hour to pass. 2. If you hear a clicking sound, gachi gachi at night, stop moving immediately. Don't make any sound. Hide if possible. The gashadokuro hunts by sound. 3. Don't follow blue-white lights, foxfire, kitsune into the forest. They will lead you away from town and you will get lost. 4. If you get lost walking home, you're probably being tricked by tanuki. Stay calm. Retrace your steps. Carry fried tofu, a borage, in your pocket. They like it and will leave you alone if you leave it as an offering. 5. If you encounter a person with no face, noppera-bo, close your eyes immediately and say, "Gomen, kudasai, watashi wa mishi ni mayote imasu." It will disappear. 6. Visit the Inari shrine at least once a month. Leave a small offering, coins, rice, sake. Show respect to the kitsune. 7. Never disrespect the forest or the mountains. Don't litter. Don't damage trees. The spirits here are old and they remember. The gashadokuro. This is the most dangerous. It's a giant skeleton, 15 to 20 meters tall, made from the bones of people who died of starvation. It appears between 2 and 3 a.m. Signs it's nearby.
Complete silence. No insects. No wind. Nothing. Clicking. Chattering sound. Ground shaking from footsteps. If you encounter it, stop moving immediately. Stay absolutely silent. Hide if possible, behind buildings, under structures. Don't run unless you have no other choice. If it's close, don't breathe. It hunts by sound. If you're silent, it might not find you. There's a protective charm of Fuda on the door of your apartment. Don't remove it. Don't let it get damaged. As long as it's there, the gashadokuro cannot enter your home. The students will try to warn you. Listen to them. Especially Akari in 8th grade. Her English is good and her grandmother knows everything about the yokai. If she tells you something is dangerous, believe her. The other teachers won't explain things directly. It's not in their culture to discuss these things openly with outsiders. But they'll give you advice. Listen to it. You will think I'm crazy. That's okay. I thought the same thing about the warnings I received. But please, just follow these rules for the first month. After that, you'll understand. Stay safe. Be respectful. Listen to the locals.